Good afternoon. I hope everyone's well today. Thank you for watching. Happy Christmas, Happy New Year, all that jazz. If you find value in this video, consider liking and subscribing. It does help out the channel. We're only a few days into the new year, and Trump has signified a new world order with what's happening with Western interests in Venezuela. And when you add into this what he did to a few of our free speech protectionists, shall we say, before the holidays. And then we look into what he's done today. He's done two things today I want to get into and how it pertains to Britain. The first thing he's done is released a list of foreigners who are claiming benefits in the United States. So I'm going to get into this first of all. If you look at the list of foreign countries that are getting welfare assistance in the United States, which is what we want in the UK, but our government won't release this data. If you look at the top 10 countries, you've got Bhutan, Somalia, Yemen, Marshall Islands, Dominican, Afghan, Congo, Guinea, Samoa, and Cape Verde, and Iraq. We'll throw Iraq in there as well. There may be some deviations, and there may be some substitutions. I don't think we've got very many Dominicans in the UK, but it's going to be broadly the same. Why won't our government release the data? Because they know what it will show. Then we get on to this. This is what I want to get into first of all. He's actually banning funding to NGOs. Now, in case you don't know what an NGO is, it's a non-government organisation. There are a shit ton of them in the UK and in America and in Europe, and basically the publicly funded do-gooders. We've got three that I want to focus on, and you may have heard of them before, you may not have heard of them before. Care for Calais, Hope Not Hate, Stand Up to Racism. These are non-governmental NGOs based in the UK, operating a non-profit entities focused on advocacy, charity, and campaigning. You could say that, or you could say they are narrative control. The government has decided that mass migration is a good thing. The government has decided that we need infinity migrants. And these three specifically are there to keep the discourse where it needs to be. And this is what they cannot stand. I'm going to play a couple of clips. The first one it's from the part of the American administration and what they're doing with the NGOs. And then I'll get on to the second clip, which is featuring our favourite hate not hope lovey, Nick Lyles. I'm sure we'll all remember him, what he did last year, when he said that white people were acid attacking ethnic minorities, and he had to come out and apologise for that. He wasn't arrested, he wasn't put in prison for disinformation. No, not of course, because he's on the government payroll. Anyway, we'll go on to these clips now.
Has spent billions of dollars over the years in helping with health strategies all across the world. What we learned over time, and especially after coming here, is that oftentimes, and I'm oversimplifying it, but this is an accurate description, what would happen is we would go to a country and say, we're going to help you with your healthcare needs. Then we would drive over to Northern Virginia somewhere, find an NGO, one of these organizations, give them all the money, tell them go to this country and do their healthcare program for them. That NGO would then take about some percentage of that money for their overhead and administrative costs. And by the time it got down to it, the host country had very little influence. It was sort of imposed on them. And only a percentage of the overall money ever actually reached the patients and the people on the ground that we were trying to help because of these costs. This makes no sense. So why are we hiring American and international NGOs to go into other countries and run healthcare systems that are parallel and sometimes in conflict with the healthcare systems of the host country? If we're trying to help countries, help the country. Don't help the NGO to go in and find a new line of business. And so that's what the model that we're breaking. We're not doing this anymore. We are not going to spend billions of dollars funding the NGO industrial complex while close and important partners like Kenya are either have no role to play or have very little influence over how healthcare money is being spent. But
this is how all NGOs work. The three that I've mentioned, Care for Calais, Hope Not Hate, and Stand Up to Racism, are all the same. They are government funded in the United Kingdom. I think there is over 500 at least that are directly given a lot of money by the British government, and a lot of them are therefore narrative control. So when you see these liberals, these lovies, and they go out on these counter-protests against the people who are protesting migrants outside hotels and whatnot, why have they all got matching placards? I've always mentioned this on my channel. It's because they're not spontaneous. They're all bussed in from all over the country, and they are there to enforce the state propaganda machine and narrative, and it's all paid for by the state. And then you get into the second clip, which is the one that I want to bring up now, which is Nick Lowell's. He is from Hope Not Hate, Hate Not Hope, and he is one of the worst. He actually says what I've said on my channel all the time. Freedom of speech was great, and they advocated for free speech when you didn't have a digital microphone, i.e. the internet, to amplify your message and amplify your voice. All very well and good for you to say what you want when no one's there to hear it. But now everybody's got a platform, they don't like it because they are losing control of the narrative. They are losing control of their propaganda. And this is what Nick Lowell specifically says in this video clip, which I'm going to play now.
And the online space has transformed the fortunes of the far right. You know, not only when I first started in the late 80s, unless you literally knew someone who was in a fascist group, you could never join. There was no website, there was no office. You couldn't buy something in a shop. You had to know someone. It was a very violent world then. But I think, and so the internet and in a way the far right have been much better at utilising new media platforms, partly because they've had to, because they've been taken off certain platforms, they've created their own. Partly you've got super rich people in the US literally providing them with platforms. But, you know, there is this ecosystem now where 20 years ago, 30 years ago, there was literally a social and economic consequence for being a far right activist. You lost your job, you got shunned by your family and your friends. Now you earn a good living.
I want to stop that here for a moment. There's a couple of things I want to unpack from what this tosspot is saying. First of all, the Overton window has shifted so far right that what he deems as far right or extreme is now mainstream view. We're talking about mass deportations, we're talking about the grooming gangs, we're talking about the mass exploitation of white working class women and children, boys and girls, all over the country for the past 50 years. There is a large faction of Islam that is not compatible with Western values. We can say all of this stuff now, and 5 or 10 years ago we couldn't say any of this. He hates this and he doesn't like it, and the reason why he doesn't like it is because the grift that he's been on for the past 20 or 30 years is coming to an end, and he can't stand it. The narrative control is gone. All we can do is jump on the train or get off the tracks. This is the thing with President Trump and what he's doing with the NGOs. He's already cleared out the ones that are helping the migrants. This is secondary to what he's doing today. But when America sneezes, Europe catches a cold. There's already a few countries in Europe that are doing this, that have been doing it for years. If you look at Poland, if you look at Hungary, Italy's now making moves in the same direction. So is Greece, and so is Austria. Alright? The only people that aren't waking up to that seems to be 2-tier Kia, 3-gear Kia, the Starmer bot.
And by a good living, I mean, Tommy Robinson, whether his money goes directly into his bank account or to other accounts, will earn millions every year. I mean, that is the scale. But we cannot ignore the street as well, because I think what we've seen over the summer with the rising rhetoric around hotels, the protests, the flags, which is a kind of driven by Tommy Robinson's gang, the consequence of that has been rising racism in society.
And we all know that racism is the worst thing that a country can be. There is nothing in the universe worse than racism. Well, no, Nick, honey, sweetie, fucker, there's far worse things to be than a racist. So if you want to call me racist for wanting to protect my country, well, you go and do that. I really don't give two shits. So we're going to leave this clip here. Now, as I've just mentioned, there are countries already on the European continent that are doing what we need to do here. And I think that with a little diplomatic leverage from the Donald over to Britain, we will follow suit. I think that Elon and I think that Donald know where all the skeletons are buried in the British state, and I think they could make things very difficult politically and financially for Britain if Starmer doesn't toe the line. Now, as I say, if you look at what Hungary is doing, Hungary was the country that introduced laws restricting and effectively criminalising certain forms of support, including funding for non-governmental organisations and charities helping migrants, particularly those deemed illegal or not entitled to protection. In 2018, Hungary passed the Stop Soros package of laws, named after the philanthropist, allegedly, George Soros, whose foundation supported many NGOs. These measures criminalise organising activities to help undocumented or illegal migrants and asylum seekers submit claims, with penalties for up to a year in prison. They included provisions for targeting foreign-funded NGOs, such as 25% tax on funding for migration-related activities, and requirements to register as foreign-funded if receiving significant overseas support. Restricted NGOs from providing legal aid, information, or other assistance to migrants. All of this should be common sense. All of this should be done in the United Kingdom. As I say, this is the new world now. This is the new world order that we're all living in under the Donald. I think Keir Starmer may try to hold out. My personal opinion is things will change and things will change quickly. And this is what the regime loyalists don't get. And they need to get with the programme, or they're going to get demolished by the Donald. It comes to something when you've got a foreign president, essentially, that cares more about European civilization and Britain than our own elected officials. As always, your mileage may vary. Consider liking and subscribing. It does help out the channel. You have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for your time.